Hey guys, I'm Daisho and I'm here bringing you some Hearthstone. Finally back to do some live commentating. It's been a while, and I think I'm gonna go with Shaman. I've done Druid and Warrior pretty recently. I don't know, man. I mean, I really like Shaman, but I never have any success with it. After seeing this pack, my thoughts are immediately going to Ancient Watcher since I see it on the battlefield so much because it's a really good constructed card, but it's obviously not playable in the arena. If you are going to pick it, number one is the time to pick it, but Master is a pretty good backup plan, and you know, it's not a terrible card. It can get there. So of these three, oh, and Master Swordsmith is just one that I think is okay, but it's so reliant on having other things. It gets a lot better when you're playing Shaman because you're always going to be able to have other creatures, but still, the 1/3 body is so weak that it can just die to another 2-drop even before it's able to do anything. So you really have to protect it, and then sometimes it doesn't give the power you want, so it's not reliable enough to be a very good card, in my opinion. Anyway, for the next pick, we have Stormwind Knight, Razorfin Hunter, Lightning Bolt. If you guys have seen my last Shaman playthrough, I really value these 1 mana removal spells, or 3 damage removal spells, this and Rockbiter Weapon. And the reason is because you can play them and then still make a valuable play that turn. So, for instance, on turn 4, you can still play a 3-drop, or turn 5, you can still play a 4-drop creature, and if you take their guy off the board, then it's one of the easiest ways to regain control of the board. And as you guys know, it is probably one of the most important things in Hearthstone is to just get board control. So Stormwind Knight, Razorfin Hunter, neither of them are nearly as good as Lightning Bolt. These are both creatures that I would take if there was really nothing else in the pack, but with a good option, I'll definitely go for Lightning Bolt. Now here is a pack that does not have any good options. So Totemic Might is just one that I don't really understand why it's a card. Maybe at some point it'll be worth it if there are a lot more totems or something like that, or totems become useful, but I honestly, sincerely doubt that that's going to be a thing pretty much ever. Corehound is really expensive, and for 5 toughness on 7 mana, you're going to have to do a lot better than, I mean, 9 power is nice, obviously, and you can't really expect much more than that, but honestly, it's just not a card that I'm willing to play. Nightblade isn't good, but it's better than the other two, in my opinion. I mean, Nightblade is only a little bit undercosted at a 5 mana 4/4. It really should cost 4 mana, but I'll get over it. Corehound, I still don't like. Too expensive for not enough toughness to survive. Frost Shock, 1 damage, and Freeze is not really enough for me to warrant playing a card. If it was like 2 mana for 2 damage and Freeze, and I'd play it, even though it'd be just a strict downgrade to Frostbolt, still would play it. But Shattered Sun Cleric's a nice option, even with it only being a 3/2. It used to be a 3/3 for those of you who haven't played long enough, but still a very good and powerful card, so I'm willing to pick it up here. Alright, very happy to pick up a class-specific rare. These are really good for Shaman in particular. I mean, this is the most important kind of pack because you get the option to get Lightning Storm, which is probably the most important card to pick up other than Fire Elemental. But anyway, I hate Mana Addict and Mana Wraith. Neither of them have good enough stats, and their abilities are mediocre at best. So I'm going to go with the Feral Spirit here. I really like the card too. I don't like any of these. I think I'm going to go with Abusive Sergeant, though. It's a lot better in Shaman because you can use it to give your totems plus attack, and then you can trade off with them, so it's alright. Alright, Chillwind Yeti is sufficiently awesome that I'm happy to take it. I need 2-drops. I mean, I'm 6 picks in and haven't really seen any 2-drops. Forked Lightning is probably a card that people are like, oh my god, Daisho, how are you not taking Forked Lightning? And while I mean, I obviously notice the power level of this card, 1 mana to just take care of 2 enemies and get a 2-for-1 is kind of incredible, but you don't want to play it in the early game because then you can't do anything the next turn. So even though you do clear their board, you lose. They just get their advantage back by playing more creatures, and you know, sometimes it works out in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. I'm not saying the card is terrible, but what I am saying is that I'm gonna much rather take something like a Chillwind Yeti, which is probably going to be one of the best cards in my deck. So River Crocolisk is just a lot worse than Chillwind Yeti, so not really a consideration there. I'm going to take the Earth Shock here. Ancestral Healing is pretty bad. It's hard to get a full card's worth of value out of it. Taunt is not that important, and restoring health to a minion is also usually rare and fringe. And usually you're not going to want to restore health on a minion that you want to give Taunt. I mean, it's just so conditional and kind of bad. And 1-drops in Limited are pretty bad for the most part. There are almost no all classes. I mean, there are no all classes ones that I'm happy to play. This is one that I'd be willing to play, but Earthshock is kind of nice in a lot of situations, so I'm going to go with that. Especially because you can just get free spell damage plus with your totems. So 2 spell damage creatures. I don't like any of the spell damage creatures, except I'm okay with Ogre Magi because I'm okay with a 4/4 for 4. But these bodies are just not good enough for me. And I mean, I do have 2 spells already, and I'm likely to pick up a couple more. But Gnomish Inventor is definitely a good option. 2/4 for 4 is not a great body, but just being able to draw a card and probably get some value. Wow, I think that somebody might be getting murdered right outside my room. There's just a ton of honking going on if you couldn't hear that. But anyway, and now there's some shouting. I'm kind of curious to see what's going on, but anyway, Gnomish Inventor. Let's do the important things first. Okay, so a couple of options: Ancestral Spirit, Gadgets, and Auctioneer. So I mean, when we look at this deck, I do have 4 spells or 3 spells already, and 2 of them are very cheap. So that would make me want to play Gadgets and Auctioneer, or I could still just play Ancestral Spirit, which is often pretty good. But I haven't picked up any giant creatures yet except for Chill and Yeti, so I don't really know how good it'll be. This is going to be better more often. But that makes my second 5-mana 4/4, so I need to get some bigger creatures up in here. But anyway, this card's completely unplayable, as I mentioned earlier. Murloc Raider is very, very bad, and Wind Fury is conditionally very, very bad. But hopefully, we'll be able to get some value out of it. Alright, so finally, very good staple. I mean, I've gotten some staples of the deck, but so far this deck is looking very, very bad. I need to fix the curve and also up the power level. But Wolf Rider is an okay card. It's good in a lot of situations where you can take out a creature. Hex can take out any creature always. It's just so clearly the pick. Gurbachi Berserker is a creature that I'm willing to play in Priest and Mage. I like it in Mage. I think it's alright in Priest, but outside of those two, I'm almost unwilling to play it. Maybe in Warrior if I have a lot of like cool Taskmasters and stuff like that, but Hex is a card I'm very happy to pick up. Alright, so for this pick, it's actually pretty interesting, since these 2 cards are obviously very similar. They both buff the adjacent minions, and normally I would take the Flametongue Totem, because obviously giving +2 seems better than +1, and also an interesting thing to note is that having more toughness is good on your creatures that do more than just attack and block, because you want them to survive longer so they can survive more removal or hits from more creatures and stuff like that. So 3 is a little bit better than 2. 4 is a lot better than 3 because most of the removal in this game deals 3 damage, or most of the cheap removal rather. There's some more expensive removal, and then obviously Warlock has Shadow Bolt and Soulfire, but for the most part 3 damage is the standard 3 or 2. But anyway, point is, Flametongue Totem is generally better than Direwolf Alpha, but if you look at my curve, I have no 2-drops. And Direwolf Alpha, while also very good at pumping my totems, or while also okay at pumping my totems later on, can also be played as a mediocre 2-drop. So, basically what I'm trying to say is that I'm hedging my bets. So Flametongue Totem is a lot better in the late game, whereas Direwolf is worse in the early game, or worse in the late game, but kind of better in the early game, so I'm more happy to take this. And Wind Fury Hyperion is just not a card that I'm likely to play. I mean, I could play it, especially if I can pick up some Rockbiter weapons, but I just don't like to play it. Interesting choices here. All 3 cards that I would play in my deck. I think Boulder Fist Ogre might be the best of them, but I'm probably going to take Dark Iron Dwarf here. I do need some giant creatures, but this guy synergizes too well with the Shaman power that I think I'm going to have to go with him. Now, there we go. Picked up a Fire Elemental. This is probably the best common in the game. There might not... Actually, I would go as far as... Well, okay. He's better than all the all-classes rares, and he's better than... I don't know. You never have to choose between commons and rares, so it doesn't matter. But Fire Elemental is one of the best cards in the game. That's just... I mean, when you see Fire Elemental in a pack, you just completely ignore the rest of the pack. The first 5 Fire Elementals, maybe the 6th, you would consider taking like a Lightning Bolt over it or something like that, or something really, really good. But up until that point. Nope. Forked Lightning I've already discussed. Hex, I mean, and so basically I think that Forked Lightning is worse than most people think, and I think that Hex is as good as most people think, but I think everybody would agree that Hex is better than Forked Lightning, and Lord of the Arena is just too expensive for what it does. Hey, another Fire Elemental. Always willing to take more Fire Elementals. Okay, so this is an interesting pick. The funny thing is, I never end up taking Ancient Brewmasters. I don't know if it's when I get them in the packs, or if it's just that I don't value the card highly enough. But, I mean, I see this card as a card that it has a good body. It's a 5/4 for 4. Not as good as a 4/5 for 4, but still pretty good, considering you expect a 4/4 for 4. And it has text on it that is sometimes upside and sometimes downside. And it looks like in this kind of deck that it will be upside. Like, a lot of upside. I mean, Abusive Sergeant, even Imp Master loses health, Shattered Sun, Dark Iron Dwarf, Gnomish Inventor, Nightblade, Double Fire Elemental. Almost all my cards really benefit from Ancient Brewmaster's ability. That being said, look at my 2-drop slot. Still nothing. I think I just have to take the Stormforged Axe so I don't fall too far behind early on in games. But it kind of sucks because Dark Iron Dwarf is also a really good pick. Alright, so these 2 cards are very bad. You don't really ever want to play them. Bloodlust can win you games, but for the most part it is really difficult to get a full card's worth of value out of Bloodlust, and if you do, then chances are it's basically going to be a Rockbiter weapon. But Murloc Tidehunter is sometimes okay as just something I can trade with their 3/2, so I'm going to go with Murloc Tidehunter here, just as another 2-drop. Huh, very interesting pick actually here. I think I'm going to go with Sea Giant. They're all really good though. This is rare that you get 3 epics to choose from. Usually you get 2 or just 1 that is reasonable, and it's kind of an easy pick. But I mean, Big Game Hunter's obviously very good at killing giants and Venture Co's and stuff. It's a lot better. I mean, right now I think it's a lot better in Limited than it is in Constructed. There's often going to be targets from your opponent. Not always, but often. And then Faceless Manipulator is good because you can just copy the biggest thing on the board. That's always nice. But Sea Giant should be able to come down early because I am a Shaman and I have a good amount of creatures, not a ton, but yeah, we'll go with Sea Giant. Alright, I'll take another Hex. I'm not above taking 3 Hexes, maybe like 4th. If there's another really good card, I'll pass it up. Raging Worgen is fine. It's a card that I'm not really happy to take if I am playing Shaman. I'm very happy to take it if I'm playing Mage, but outside of Mage, not really. And Sentient Shieldmaster is a good card, and I do need 4-drops, or I mean, I'm okay with taking more 4-drops, but I'm just going to take Hex because it's very good. Fen Creeper is the best card in this pack. Dragonlink mechanic's pretty weak. The Mr. Bitey 2/1 Dragonlink, Mechanical Dragonlink, it's very easy to kill and just pick off, and then this guy's just a 2/4, which is not worth it for your 4 mana. Unless you get a really good effect out of it. But yeah, Tauren Warrior as well. 3 mana 2/3 that doesn't really have an ability. The way to think about it is if your opponent plays a 3 mana 3/3, then they can just kill your guy and his ability didn't do anything. It's so rare that he gets enraged. Sometimes the taunt is relevant if you play him down against your opponent's 1 creature when you want to keep another one of your creatures alive, but for the most part, not very good, and Fen Creeper is pretty good. Alright, so Flametongue Totem or Frostwolf Grunt. It's really awkward because, I mean, I obviously only have 3 2-drops right now. This is not really a 2-drop even though it says it's a 2-drop. But Frostwolf Grunt is just way worse than Flametongue Totem, so I'm going to have to take the Totem here. River Crocolisk is a great pickup. I don't have any 3s either, but I think 2s are more important than 3s. I think these 2 cards are basically equal on power level. Flesh Eating Ghoul can get pretty big, especially when I can make a bunch of totems and hopefully taunt totems or 1/1s, throw them at them, or they have to attack into them, and that's fine. Dust Devil is just never a consideration because I think that this card is completely terrible and unplayable. If you play it on turn 1, you can't do anything the next turn, and that's pretty bad. And especially because since it only has 1 health, your opponent can often just ping it off or kill it with their hero ability, or like an Elven Archer, or even like a Bluegill Warrior. I mean, there's so many things that they can do to disrupt it, and it's so rare that this card actually benefits you in a real way. So I'm going to take the 2-drop here, but yeah, alright. I'll take another Dark Iron Dwarf. These packs have been very kind to me in the recent times. Take another Stormforged Axe. It's okay to pick a couple of these. You don't really want more than 3, but because they have so much durability, and since they only have 2 power, you can't always find a good target for it. 3 power is a lot better. Something like Arcanite Reaper, if it had 3 durability, I'd be okay with playing a lot of them, but anyway. Frostwolf Grunt, I already said, is terrible. I hate Motion Warden. You do want more toughness than power, but 1 power is just not enough to make a really good creature. Alright, so yeah, those 2 cards are completely garbage, so I'll take that one and be happy about it. And now I actually have an interesting choice ahead of me. All 3 of these cards have merit, and I think I know what I'm leaning towards, but I'm going to go through my thought process. So Gnomish Inventor immediately is kind of out of the question. I have a lot of underpowered, overcosted creatures already in this Auctioneer, the Nightblade, the one Inventor that I do have. So I don't really want more cheap, expensive, weak creatures. Scarlet Crusader is very good as a 3-drop, and I only have 1, 2, 3 real cards that I can play on turn 3. So definitely a consideration, and Lightning Bolt is just a card that I value really highly, and I think it's very good. So after that thought process, I mean, Scarlet Crusader is good, but I think that I'm going to lean towards the Lightning Bolt. Taking more removal is really nice, especially it works with my Gadgets and Auctioneer, and I want to get to my Fire Elementals and my Sea Giant, so I think I'll be happy enough to take a Lightning Bolt here. Loot Hoarder is just a card that I respect and am willing to pick up, and by the way, we all have to make a combined effort here to just think and will our Lightning Storm. We need 1 Lightning Storm for this deck to really pull it together. It's very important to get area of effect damage, and that's going to be the only way I can. But Razorfin Hunter, making a 1/1, not good. War Golem, a little bit too expensive. Still a pretty good card, but yeah, let's come on, get our Lightning Storm. Alright, we didn't get Lightning Storm, but we got Kodo. As I said, I don't really want overcosted, underpowered creatures, but Kodo's awesome. I mean, his ability is worth the extra mana that you pay for the 3/5 body, so pretty happy to pick him up. So after this deck is completed, I think that it's pretty good. I mean, I've got a ton of removal, I've got a Gadgets and Auctioneer for some draw, Gnomish Inventor, a couple of Fire Elementals on the top of the curve, and there aren't that many really bad cards. I mean, there's this Wind Fury, the Murloc Tide Hunter, Abusive Sergeant's not even a terrible card, in the Nightblade. So there's only 3 bad cards in this deck. And that's usually pretty good. I mean, you can't always get a perfect deck with 100% awesome cards. Sometimes you just get some bad ones. And I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. It's just complete randomness. What you have to do is make sure that the bad cards in your deck are filling spots in the curve. So that's what I did with, not Nightblade. Nightblade was just random, but Murloc Tide Hunter, I mean, that card is obviously not good, but it does sometimes work as a 2-drop, so, you know, it gets there. I don't want to see it in this hand against Malfurion, but we'll see. Alright, so we're playing first, which means that I don't want multiple 3-drops, so I'm just going to mulligan those 2, keep the Imp Master, because it's pretty unlikely that I do find one of my 3 2-drops or whatever. Maybe I've got 4, I don't know. Alright, so normally I'd be pretty pissed that I don't have a 2-drop here, but I mean, Shaman's Totemic Call ability is not so bad. I mean, you can often gain value off of totems, and while maybe not right away, in the long game they end up working out and helping. Hey, I said end turn. So, especially with a Sea Giant in hand, I just want to flood the board as much as possible. This guy's pretty good because it means that my opponent can't shapeshift and kill it ever, pretty much. So he's got to just attack me. Maybe he will attack my guy. That would be pretty nice. No. Alright, so a couple options here. One real option, especially with after drawing the Dark Iron Dwarf, is Imp Master. I don't want to play this because then I'm going to be overloaded next turn, so I'm going to only be able to play a 2-drop, and that's just going to be another totem. So not going to be very good for me. Additionally, looking down the road, I have a nice 3 into 4 into 5, and then I can play the Feral Spirit and gain more value out of it because the Auctioneer will trigger. So, I mean, might end up happening, it might not, but hopefully we can get this Sea Giant out pretty soon. I mean, with all these creatures popping out, you never know. Alright, so he's got a swipe here for me. That would be nice. Oh, just a Chillwind Yeti. Alright, well, I can beat a Chillwind Yeti. How though? Alright, I see one real option, which is just to hex it here. I am going to make an interesting play. That'll be 5. Yeah, alright, so I'm going to attack first and then hex. And then my Imp Master is going to make another Imp, and as long as he plays a creature or doesn't shapeshift or something like that, I'll be able to drop this Sea Giant next turn, which should be pretty nice. But so keeping the frog around for another turn might actually allow me to play the Sea Giant. It'd be unfortunate if he does have a swipe here, just be... Ooh. Well, I guess that's the worst case scenario. But I still, actually, it's not the worst case scenario, because I still do get to play Sea Giant here. So, we're just going to go ahead and drop that guy. And my Imp Master is going to die, but, I mean, he used half of his Dark Iron Dwarf to kill it, and look, I still got 3 1/1s. I mean, he could just, if he does have a swipe, which, I mean, is a card that I keep talking about, I keep mentioning, because it is one of the most important cards for playing against... Ooh, which one is it going to be? He's going to draw some cards. It is one of the most important cards to understand while playing against a druid, so that's why I keep mentioning it, but... Alright, he's just going to attack one of my guys. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and drop an axe. I don't want to take any damage on my Sea Giant. Druid doesn't really have ways to kill it without, like, damaging first, so... Alternatively, I could have just played the Dark Iron Dwarf now that I think about it. But I'm okay taking a couple of damage on my hero and getting some more damage through. So he's at a full 10 cards here because of that Nourish and because he didn't really do much before that. But that's okay. Mountain Giant, that's really scary. And Taunt. Okay, so looks like my... Oh man, that's a good draw. Don't quite have enough to play that first, but that's okay. And I think I'm actually just going to totem here. And 12, 13, 15? Oh, okay. That works for me. Turn 7 kill. That's pretty good. I mean, I guess getting the turn 5 Sea Giant was a pretty big part of that. Alright, that was a pretty quick win. Don't really know how my opponent thought that nourishing when I have a Sea Giant on the battlefield is like a reasonable play. But, excuse me, that's okay with me. Not gonna complain. Next match. Anduin. I can beat Anduin. Beat Anduin with my eyes closed. So luckily I got a Wind Fury in my opening hand so that I can mulligan it. All those cards were mulligans though. I want to find 2 drops or at least 3 drops. So I mean, Feral Spirit is nice. It's not amazing against Priest, but it's not terrible either. It's like just neither particularly good nor particularly bad. Wow, okay. You got yourself a South Sea Deckhand. If you could see my eyes right now, they're just cringing with the thought that my opponent is playing a South Sea Deckhand in his deck. It's a little annoying. I don't really want to play a Feral Spirit next turn, but I don't have much of a choice here. Well, we're going to go for it. I mean, it's very good on this board. But it's just the overload cost is very, very expensive here when it's basically saying, all right, you don't get to play any cards next turn. So, I mean, then again, it was the reason why I made the play is because I'd rather play my cards now than not get to play anything later. But yeah, sure, you got yourself that and a Shadow Word Pain. That's pretty good. I mean, he's definitely handling my board well. And as I said, I don't have any area of effect damage, so anytime that my opponent can do that is a bad time for me. Alright, well, hopefully when I do get to play my Fire Elemental, I'll be able to start getting back into this game. Or if my opponent doesn't kill my totem this turn, which is unlikely, but possible. Whoa. That's big. That's scary. Alright, Chillwind Yeti it is. Very bad spot for me. My hope is that he attacks here and doesn't heal up somehow. But, I mean, this is just a really aggressive start. Yeah, he's going to heal it. Makes the most sense to do that play. And Thought Seal. Okay, so, well, at least I mean, I haven't taken much damage. It's still not a good spot for me to be in. Wish I had drawn that card like 6 turns ago. Alright, so my 2 plays are Gnomish Inventor and this, or just this. I think just this is more important. Take out the pint size so he can, so he basically loses a mana if he was planning on playing a minion next turn. And I still have Fire Elemental, which can trade with Frostwolf.
Get in there and fight, maggot.
Oh no! And he stole my axe. That's not good. That is not good at all. Alright, so it looks like we're taking hits again. I'm gonna have to go with that guy into a weapon. But, I don't see any way that I win this game. Unfortunate. But, I mean, that's just what happens when your opponent curves out like that. That was a craziness. He played this thing on, like, turn 4. That's just unheard of. But, yeah, can't win. I don't know why he decided not to attack there. There's nothing. I don't think there's a card in my deck that I can draw here. This one. Doesn't matter. This sucks, man. I mean, it is a weakness for my class and my deck in general, is the lack of area of effect damage, but still a tough one to lose. I guess I was supposed to make a totem last turn so that I could maybe survive one more turn, but realistically I can't win a game where my opponent has 6 cards and I'm at 2 life. That's just impossible. I guess I had 3 hexes in my deck, which I could have drawn to deal with the 6/6 for like 3 turns. And I have 2 Stormforged Axes that I could have drawn to deal with my opponent's early game threats. So, I mean, I had outs, I just did not draw very well that game. In fact, one could say I drew very poorly, and he just had the perfect response to my spell that I was able to play early on. But, I mean, like, honestly, I played 1 spell turns 1 through 4, so I guess I can't really be that upset about losing that game. I can be upset, but I shouldn't be that upset. Alright. Oh, Feral Spirit. Again, like, not a card that I want to be casting early, but it's better than nothing, so I'm going to keep it here. And what I can do is I can coin into it on turn 2. He's going to be less likely to have a good way to deal with them, and then I can still drop a turn 4, which, I mean, I've got a Chillwind Yeti, so sounds good to me. Alternatively, I could just play a totem next turn and then coin into a Chillwind Yeti. Playing totems early on is pretty nice, especially considering I do have a Flame Tongue totem in hand, so we're going to think about this one for a little bit. Alright, well, I drew an Imp Master, so that makes my decision for me. I can just play an Imp Master, and then this way I get a turn 2 and a turn 3 play, and then my turn 4 I can just drop a Flame Tongue totem or a Totemic Call, depending on what happens to this board. I don't know what that could be. Could be a backstab that he thought he'd be able to target my creature with, but can't because... Oh, wow. That was a waste of a deadly poison. If I were him, I definitely would have daggered first. Seems like a very bad play. So I'm pretty sure that my opponent's got a backstab in hand, but that's fine. Still very happy to play these guys. And then be able to drop Flame Tongue Totem next turn and get full value out of it and have it hidden behind Taunters. And I mean, I've got 4 creatures out already, so I also can play a Stoneforged Axe next turn, especially because I'll still be able to play a Yeti on turn 4. I don't want to play Stoneforged Axe on turn 5 because once I get to turn 6, I just want to be playing Fire Elementals. I mean, I've got 2 of them in hand, so definitely something that I want to be able to do. Alright, so there's the backstab that we knew he had. He tried to cast it on my Imp Master, but then realized that it was damaged, so he couldn't do so. Then he's going to take 2... finish off my guy, and then do a nice little combo there to get this guy in range of that. But as I said earlier, Flame Tongue Totem to the rescue. And we get to hit him for 7, and if he wants to hit this, he's going to have to take another 4. That sounds like a scary proposition for him, especially considering he's not really ahead on board here. Alright, so that's gonna end up being pretty good. Fortunately, I do have a Stormforged Axe for him. I can take out this guy so he can't just kill my Flame Tongue Totem this turn. But this is exactly what I did say earlier that I don't want to do. I don't want to be playing Stormforged Axe on turn 5. But, alas. I mean, I don't have to. Could just play a Chillwind Yeti and let this thing die. That sounds so bad. I'm so far ahead that I can afford to let this game slow down a little bit. Basically what I'm trying to say is that my opponent's not going to kill me anytime soon, so I am going to get to play my Fire Elementals this game. The fact that I can't do it right away is going to be fine. Alright, so he's got himself a good old Assassin's Blade. Not that... Whoa there, buddy. Whoa there. Alright, so you can tell that I'm in the X1 bracket because my opponent is playing Sinister Strike, and I don't know, I mean, I guess there are situations where... I'm going to attack here. There are situations where it's correct to play Sinister Strike, but generally not ever right. It's very rare. That's what I'm trying to say. Alright, you got yourself a Cobra. You should just attack into my Yeti right here. That'd be glorious. Right now I have 6. Alright, so I'm actually 1 damage short of killing him right now, which kind of sucks. But that's okay. Gonna go with that. And I will hold on to the last durability here with this here weapon. Alternatively, last turn, I mean, I could have just played Gadgetzan Auctioneer and Lightning Bolted that, but I think that this plays a little bit better because I get a Fire Elemental on the board instead of a Gadgetzan Auctioneer, so yeah, alright, that's game. Can easily just Fire Elemental him to death. Even though he wasn't quite dead on board, he is now. Alright, so... managed to go 2-1 to start out. I really thought that this deck was better. I think that it's more of like an 8 to 10 win kind of deck than like a 5 to 7 win. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's pretty balanced. I have 3 Stormforged Axe. I thought I only had 2. Yeah, that's awesome and awful that I didn't draw one in the last match. I mean, I guess I have a, like, okay, so I have 3 Axes, a Loot Hoarder, a Murloc Tidehunter, and a Direwolf Alpha. So that, and a River Crocodile. So that's 7 cards that I can draw for turn 2, and I haven't started any of these games with a 2-drop yet. So that's really unfortunate, but we'll get better luck in the future. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.